Judgement at Nuremberg by Theron Gorman. The movie Judgement of Nuremberg takes place after World War II, where there are 4 German judges on trial. However, Ernst Janning is the main focus of the case. The movie touches on many ethical frameworks, but the main clash is between virtue and duty, and whether duty can protect you from unrighteousness. In the movie, the main characters that are portrayed are the virtuous judge Dan Haywood, the defense attorney Hans Rolf, and the defendant Ernest Janning. Some of the dilemmas that come up during the movie are: does inaction make you guilty? Should you follow the law even if you believe it is unjust? And who is braver, the one who flees in times of peril, or the one who stays at their post? The movie's very symbolic of the battle of virtue and duty. In the case of Rudolf Peterson, a man that was sexually sterilized by the Third Reich, the defense argues that the duty of the judge is to carry out the laws, not to interpret them, which the Code of Conduct for United States judges agrees with. And since there was a law in Germany at the time that stated the incompetent would be sexually sterilized, Ernst Janning followed the law, and therefore his action can be argued as just. And if he truly believed that he was doing justice, Immanuel Kant would argue that a good will is not good because of what it performs or affects, but simply by virtue of the volition or will. Near the end of the movie, Ernst Janning decides to make a statement. In his statement, he says, "I had already reached my verdict on the Feldenstein case before I ever came into the courtroom, and that we may not have been aware of the extermination of the millions, but we still knew of the extermination of the hundreds. Does that make us any less guilty?" This statement reflects the tenets of virtue ethics, for here he is seen telling the truth and the straight truth. He understands that only through the truth can justice truly be upheld, and therefore he takes the courage to state what no one was willing to state. And in the Feldenstein case, since Janning had made his decision before he had ever walked into the courtroom, Aristotle would say that the virtuous person sees the truth in each case, being as it were a standard and measure of them. Now this finds Ernst guilty, for he did not see the truth of the case that was brought before him, and therefore he did not follow the path of virtue. And finally, in the case of the Führer's decree, every judge was required to wear a swastika upon their robes. Now, had Ernst Janning decided not to wear the swastika, he would have been abandoning his post, for he had a duty to uphold the law as a judge. And Socrates states in Crito by Plato, "For wherever a man's place is, whether the place which he has chosen or that in which he has been placed by a commander, there he ought to remain in the hour of danger. He should not think of death or anything but of disgrace," which I believe refutes the evidence that was brought up with the Führer's decree. In Hans's final statement, he states, "Why did we succeed? Did the world not know of the intentions of the Third Reich? Mein Kampf was printed across the world. Russia made pacts with Hitler. Churchill praised him, and the American industrialists profited by him. If Ernst Janning is guilty for not coming forth against the Nazi Party, then every country that knew Hitler's intentions and did not act against them is also guilty." An intense deductive argument that I believe holds true. For if we are to find one man guilty for not going against the Nazi Party, then we must also find every country that did nothing guilty. In the end, Ernst Janning and the 4 judges are found guilty. I believe this to be a just and virtuous judgment, for they did not act virtuously, and even if they were following their duty, they had the duty to speak up against the evils that were being committed. And finally, here are the references that I used for this PowerPoint.